Hey, what's up,
Yeah,
man?
good, good.
Hey, what's all this stuff about non-duality and
Totally.
letting go of the self to attain the
Yep.
self? I'm so confused. I mean, there's yin yang, the path of reversal, and then supreme liberation. What's all this about? And then, oh yeah, yeah. Don't let me forget. I really want to know how to manifest. Can you explain this whole thing?
All right,
Yeah.
well, let's get
I'm just
into
gonna
it.
sit over here. All right.
So, we'll start with manifestation because I think that's a big piece of this that will help tie things together. So, when we talk about manifestation, what I'm referring to is this idea that you can create your reality simply by changing your thoughts, your behaviors, visualizing certain things, and ultimately generating the feeling that it has already happened. And when these things come together and you're taking actions towards that aim, some systems don't even mention that too much, but actions are very important. Then what tends to happen in this mindset, in this framework, is that you end up drawing to you the very things that you had set out to achieve. Now, I'll talk about a few things that are somewhat flawed about this, and then just kind of mention how it also could be a setup for failure, for actually arriving at attaining the thing that you had set out to attain, and then finding out, it's not exactly what I thought it was. So, what can happen is we become overly attached to the outcome. We have this idea in our mind, this thing we want to create, this lifestyle, right? This situation, this event, this coming together, this relationship, this success, whatever it is. And so this is no different than how most people set out to achieve it. It's just using a specific set of parameters. I'm going to use visualization. I'm going to use maybe some subconscious reprogramming, some hypnosis, some somatic body practices, getting myself into the feeling that this is already so. And while there's certainly nothing wrong with this pathway of going for your goals, your targets, trying to attain what you came out in this world to achieve. But what can happen is, just like any method of attaining goals and achieving targets, we can become so consumed with the outcome that we get attached to it. And this creates a problem because then when the world isn't showing us what we had hoped for, it can bring about this sense of defeat or failure or something's wrong. So then we'll tend to want to push harder and things. Now, a lot of systems will try to ameliorate this. Obviously, they talk about if you were already in the feeling that it was already so, would you be worried about any of this stuff? But this also creates a problem and a tendency, which I've seen, which is this sort of magical thinking that, oh, all I need to do is be in the feeling, really. And then everything will just kind of come together. But here's the thing. Even if you get everything right, even if you create the feeling exactly as it would be in actuality, and you're living in it, and then you're taking inspired action towards those aims, and you've got yourself a vision board, and it's very clear. You have your purpose set out before you. You're doing the hypnotic programming. You're doing the deep dives. What happens when you still don't manifest the thing? So what can happen is people will start to make excuses. They'll say like, oh, well, it was kind of like that. Wasn't exactly like I wanted, but something came about, but I need to get clearer. I need to just, there was something missing, something I was holding on to inside that I need to let go of. And maybe that is the case, but maybe not. What if karmically this creation of this thing just wasn't right for you? So here's what I mean by that. We're born into this world with forces already pressing up against us. There are the forces of gravity, of entropy and decay. There's the forces of every single individual on this planet, their particular aims, their way of living, how it's influencing the global sort of climate or energy, and then our close family members and things. And we didn't choose any of this. This is what we were born into, at least as far as we can tell. So there's all these forces which we have to deal with, which we have to navigate with and work through in order to attain our goals, let's say, and live a good life. And so some of these forces, let's say, are our genetics. Kind of difficult to change how tall you're going to be or how much musculature you can keep on your frame and still remain athleticism, or how much natural athleticism you have, how much intelligence you have, how keen are you on other people's emotions and being able to read situations and things like that. So some of these things surely were outside of your control. Maybe you got educated in certain ways in your particular society, in your particular culture, in your particular family. And other people have totally different ways of thinking, being, doing. And so we have all these different factors. And we have this great, great force, which is the force of the entire universe. And what we're thinking with manifestation is that I'm going to chart my own path through all this force, through all this stuff, and I'm going to make it happen. And this is one way to go. And great things have been achieved with this mindset. Now, what I personally have come to is a different way of being, which is aligning myself with these forces and allowing what is natural to be and to be happy with that. Now, some might think this doesn't mean you have to do anything. We'll get to that in a minute. Like all I have to do is just let go and surrender and everything's just going to work itself out, right? It seemed like that's what you were kind of
Okay, wait. So there's nothing to do? I can just sit back and let things happen, and then I'll manifest freedom.
Yeah, totally.
Is that right?
I totally hear you. So what I'm saying is there's a natural inclination for me to create. I'm inspired oftentimes to take trips, to explore things, to build skills, to really dive into something and understand it at a deep level and then begin to apply it in my life and to find ways that I can take that application and teach it to others and help them elevate themselves as well and to alleviate suffering. All these things that arise within me naturally. Now, we could look at that and say, oh, I want to go ahead and really understand these things so that I can apply it in my life and create all these changes, and then I can teach people how to do it and all this stuff. And it could be like a goal, a trajectory like this. But actually, the way that it's been manifesting, if you will, is that it's inspiration. It happens spontaneously. And so I don't need to worry about just resting on my laurels and just, hey man, just let it all be, it'll all work out. Because I'm constantly inspired and I listen to that inspiration, I follow it, I move with it. And then when I encounter challenges, inner challenges like self-doubt or confusion or fear, or external challenges like I'm bumping up against the edge of my capacity. I need to learn something new. I need to develop a new skill in order to get to the next level. And what's come up in me as I've been on this journey is that I tend to naturally want to eliminate those blocks and surpass them. And this is innate in me. So instead of thinking, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to get over these blocks, I've got to eliminate my fears, and it's me against the world, man. I tune into this natural evolutionary impulse, which seems to be compelling me towards greater and greater growth, impact, development of myself, my capacity for influence. And I don't need to take credit for these things, because to do so would actually reinforce the sense of otherness, this sense of separation, this sense of being against all of these forces. Like I have to work and achieve and push through and dominate in order to get what I want. But there's a balance. There's a duality happening, and there's a way to balance these things. Now, I'm sensing you wanted to say something about that?
Okay. Then how does one let go of the self. I mean, what does that even mean?
So, very good question. The yin and the yang, the harmony of opposites. So one of the opposites I'll talk about here, which is something we can all relate to, is self and other. Now this sort of brings us back full circle to our original question, which is, what about letting go of the self to attain the self? What does all that mean? So first of all, you can relate to your experience as an individual. You think of yourself as a person, your name, your story, your lot in life, where you're going, what your challenges are, your emotional states, your habitual thoughts, your framework and paradigm of the world, you. And then there's everything and everyone else, the other. And for most of us, it seems like this creates this separation sense. Of course, we long for connection and we strive for connection from this space, but even when we're very, very close to people, sometimes it feels like there's this gap, or we don't always experience that closeness. We experience distance, longing, and for those people who perturb us, we feel great resistance towards. Much separation. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like them. I don't like what's going on in the world. I don't like the other in that manifestation of it, in that expression of it. We like some others, but not other others. But either way, they're others. They're not us. They're not me. And so when we live our lives in this way, it becomes quite a challenge, maybe impossible to overcome, this attuning and aligning at a full and deep level with all of the forces of the universe, the infinite, as well as all other apparent individuals. How do we align with them? So many. So much chaos. So much differentiation. But what we can begin to see, and this is what the path of the Tao refers to, is that these apparent, separate, discrete things, these selves and others, these dualities, inside, outside, me, you, us and them, all of these dualities can be seen, instead of separate, discrete things, they can be seen, and not only seen in a logical mindset, but actually experienced through practice. We can actually know this in a way that these are not two things, but this is a dynamic of interplaying forces and energies, and it is one dynamic. So when we say letting go of the self, what we're talking about is the false self, the self that's made of mind, thoughts, ideas, beliefs. This was all created by you, much of it given to you. But there is a deeper self, which is consciousness, which has the feeling I am. But it is not me. And this is a key distinction. And the more you experience it, the more you know this. You know when you're feeling your I amness, your being, just at rest, just peace, just joy, just contentment, just rest. I amness. And then you know when you're a me, I got to do this, I got to do that. What about these people? What do they think? What am I supposed to do about this situation? How am I going to do this? I need to do this. I really need to do this. I got to be on time. Got to be on task. All right, next task, next task. What do I have to do next? This is when we're identified as a me. And the me and the other become so pronounced and create this sense of separation, this distance. I am not one with the all. I am a separate me operating in duality with my own particular notions and goals and targets. And I'm working against everything, but I'm going to do it by golly. Or me, I am so great. I know manifestation. All I have to do is visualize what I want, feel it in my heart, and things will happen. Still coming from this egoic mind state. Problematic. The real manifestation is aligning your conscious mind and your being with all the forces, which is just really one dynamic. And to do that, we must surrender the egoic mind, the small self, and release it. Let it go. It's not who we are. We are this. And when I'm this, things are okay. Things are beautiful. I'm tuned in. I'm tapped in. Oh, inspiration. Maybe I'll create a video. Maybe I'll try out some new effects and engage with people and also get some of these ideas out of my headspace, right? Out of this body mind and out into the world where it can interact, evolve, and uplift. So as you see this self, this small self coming up in your mind, here's a practice you can do. You recognize that you've been self-referencing on some level, thinking about yourself or thinking about others. And you catch yourself. You can recognize that that self is not a separate self. It is intertwined with the very energy of whatever it is you are thinking about is relating to it. And they are one dynamic, and you can let it go. Oh, come home. Thinking about this past experience, and oh, I did that thing, and it had these consequences with those people, and that makes me feel a certain way. And then recognizing, oh wait, that me is a dynamic that's attached to that other energy. And there is an interplay there, and now it's playing in awareness. Oh, see it. Not me, not other, actually one dynamic. And this can begin to unravel your grip on what is false, what is not you, the one you've been protecting, the one you've been trying to survive. Unnecessary. And then to wrap this up, it aligns with the will of God, of the ultimate. In the Eastern philosophy, the non-dual traditions talk about Shiva Shakti, this apparent duality. Shiva, consciousness, awareness, supreme awareness. Unconditioned, free, liberated. The cause of the performance of all things. And then Shakti, the energy, God's power, that which is manifesting into and imbued as all things, all being. Shiva Shakti. And they say these are not two. They are one and the same. It's a dynamic. So I hope that helped clear things up a little bit.
All right, man. I think I'm starting to get this
Start
a
to
little
shine
bit,
some light
but
on things.
We're going to have more of these conversations because it's still a whole lot to take in all at once. And I don't know if I can wrap my mind around the thing right now. So can I check back in with you later and we can continue this discussion?
Anytime, my friend. I'd love that.
All right.